Very well. I would like to call the Monday, August 15th, 2022 Orange Board of Education meeting to order at 7:11. Could we please stand for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's very good to see you all again. I think it's been about 8 weeks. I've probably gotten 200-300 emails, people wanting Mr. Ziman. They wanted to know where he was, and they, you know, he's
My fans.
big celebrity, his fans. But anyway, Ken, would you, Ken Vitale, would you be kind enough to read the mission statement?
Certainly. The Orange Elementary School District recognizes that the education of each child is the shared responsibility of every member of our community. Our goal is to inspire and empower each student to achieve academic excellence, embrace social and individual responsibility, and lead with integrity. We believe all individuals should be valued and treated with respect. Together, we will make a difference.
Thank you, sir. Public participation, I don't believe we have any. Very well. We do have a couple correspondence here. Dear Dr. Scarpetti and Board of Education members, thank you for your retirement gift. The crystal bowl is lovely. I will use it often and enjoy many fond memories of my time in Orange. Thank you for helping to make my years in Orange so memorable. Mary Rose Corkindale. Second one is Dear Mr. Kraut. That would include the board. Thank you so much for the beautiful flowers. It was very thoughtful, and it had put a smile on my face. Thank you again, Emma Sidor. She is the daughter of Attorney Sidor, who represents us, and she had an automobile accident where she spent a little time in the hospital, and we forwarded some flowers to her. So I appreciate that as well. Consent agenda. I will need a motion to accept the items under the consent agenda. The minutes are from the June 20th, 2022 Board of Education meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the 2022 Board of Education meeting? Susan, second. Ronette. Any further discussion on these minutes? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well. We will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Scarpetti.
Thank you, Mr. Crow, and good evening, board members. I hope all of you and your families have been enjoying a lovely summer. It's interesting, since school has been close to starting, I've been bumping into more people. There's been a common theme that I've been hearing lately from our community members, which is, I can't believe how fast the summer is going. And with our staff returning next week and welcoming our students back on Monday, August 24th, I have to agree, the summer does go by fast. But that being said, it's been a busy one with summer camps, hiring staff, getting the schools ready and preparing for professional learning. It's been busy. I've asked Mary, Mike, and Evelyn to update everyone with regarding those categories that I just shared. But I'd like to personally extend some gratitude, because there's another theme going on, at least that I've observed last school year. And though it's an overall theme of safety, I think it goes down two roads of safety. One is hopefully we're at an endemic right now, but I think some people are still concerned about safety with regarding that. And the other safety that I know people have expressed last year is school safety with an outside threat. And so I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude to Mr. Gray, Joe Mateus, and all the custodians. They've done a great job. You may recall, I shared this last year at this time. We did a different approach with cleaning schools. If a activity is occurring, so for example, at Peck Place and Mary L. Tracy, there was a summer camp going on, so we had a custodian stay there. Otherwise, all the other custodians went to one school and cleaned that one school. And I literally, from top to bottom, so you see the lights above, they would take the lights out, clean that out, go down from the walls to the floor, and cleaning that. And it provides consistency, expectation-wise. And so again, just want to extend a gratitude with the custodians and their cleaning. The other piece is, as all of you know, the board voted to hire school security officers, which allows retired police officers and state troopers who are in good standing to be hired by a school system and carry an armed weapon. We've started that process. We've hired 3 out of the 4 SSOs currently. We are continuing to interview. We are very happy with the people that we've hired so far and look forward to that 4th. Again, want to extend to anyone who's reached out to help, specifically the Orange PD. They've been accessible. The chief, in addition to Detective Nepper and Bailey throughout this whole entire process, no matter if it's been decisions about uniforms, procedures, and being actually part of the interview process. Along those lines, even though this is not was the main goal of Pick My Kid, we've talked about that last year. We piloted Pick My Kid. Again, this is an app that is on your phone in which when you arrive, there's something called a geofence around the school. And once you enter that geofence, you go on the app and you're basically saying, here, I'm here to pick up my son or daughter. It worked, or we tried it at Peck Place and it worked very well. Even the first couple days where, again, there's some transition that occur, people liked it. Again, I think some people that were not technologically savvy, we kind of responded to those responses, but that's going to be at each of our schools. The main initiative why that, that you hear about necessity is the mother of invention, it really started because the gentleman who started this app he picked his kid up and he turned around and it wasn't his kid in his car. And so that caused the initiative to do this. What many districts are looking at this now is under that same umbrella of safety. Again, due to the police and guiding us, we want, unfortunately, as less people entering or coming close to the building, because it's a lot of people coming to kind of survey. So this allows people to stay and have the child return safely to their parents and enter their vehicle. So we're looking at those themes and we're happy to do that. Moving, and again, Mr. Gray is going to be talking about this too, we're happy to report school lunches will continue to be free. Mr. Gray will go into that. I know it was reported, are we going to have it? Are we not going to have it? We said we have to wait and see from the state. The state just gave us news it's that at least up until mid-year, we'll be affording free lunches to school. They've dropped the seed that it could possibly continue, but right now we just know until maybe end of December, beginning of January, but Mr. Gray will continue with that conversation. Other than that, on the personnel side, I know I've updated all of you with regards to hiring and openings in our board update. I look forward to having Dr. Russo and myself join you in executive session for the recommendation of the MLT principal. I know many people are anxious to hear who that may be. So I look forward to presenting to all of you in executive session. And with regards to personnel, we have a mediation with our administrative assistants and paraprofessionals on Monday, August 22nd. And negotiations with school monitors have begun and will continue on Tuesday, August 23rd. And that is the end of my report, Mr. Kraut.
Any questions for Dr. Scarpetti? Tatiana?
Good evening, Dr. Scarpetti. One quick question regarding the Pick My Kid, Pick Me Up, Pick My Kid Up?
Pick My
app
Kid,
up?
yeah.
Yes, thank you. Would that be utilized at 21st Century as well?
We're looking into that. I know that there was a training that occurred. Mrs. Lasto, the director, has been there, so we're also thinking that may be advantageous to there. So it's accessible. We want to get that staff trained, but that's definitely an option.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Dr. Scarpetti? Very well. Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Gray?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to start with a finance update, and I'm going to start with education grants. And the first is a special education grant. It's the ARP IDEA, which stands for the American Rescue Plan Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Part B grant. The Orange District was allocated $72,921. The purpose of the IDEA grant programs are to provide federal entitlement funds to assist with the excess costs of providing special education and related services to children with disabilities. To date, $13,000 has been spent or committed mainly for in-person professional development around restorative practices. Not to steal any thunder, Ms. Zito will probably go into this, but that began today, the restorative practices training. Also, under special education grants, ESSER 2, Special Education Recovery Grant, we were allocated $60,200. This grant is intended to assist school districts with addressing delayed, interrupted, suspended, or inaccessible IE supports and services for students. Orange intends to use the funds to provide students with supports and services to remediate literacy, mathematics, and social emotional skills. To date, $7,000 has been committed for training to provide supplemental services in the form of tutoring for students experiencing challenges due to dyslexia, and just over $27,000 has been committed for job-embedded support. We also have the Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief ESSER 2 grant. Orange was allocated $164,000 for this grant. $80,000 has been spent to date on supplies and professional services for the 2021 and 2022 summer school programs, and $60,000 has been spent to date on salaries for the 2022 summer school program. The American Rescue Plan, Emergency Schools Secondary, the American Rescue Plan, Elementary Secondary Schools Emergency Relief, all of these words, ARP-ESSER or ESSER 3, is our final grant, and that is $326,000 allocation. $50,000 has been spent to date mainly on salaries for the 2021 summer school program, which is offset by tuition for the 2022 summer school program. This grant we have until 2024 to expend, so there is quite a bit there, but we have plans for that money. And speaking of plans for the money, the CSDE recently issued what's called an ESSER cheat sheet, and this provides information on district drawdowns for every district in the state, and it's a transparency related item for these grants for each district. So we're going to be putting something together to put out on our district website that will allow anyone in the public to access this site to go on. They can look up Orange, they can look up any district in the state. They'll see how much money the state received in grants as a total. They will also see how the state divvied up those funds, what areas they divvied it into, and then you'll be able to see any district, how they use their money, how it was spent or budgeted to be spent. So it's a pretty useful page to go to. Again, that will be on our website for people to access. As far as budget, the approved 22-23 Orange Schools budget of $22,683,860, which was an increase of 3.06% from over last year, was uploaded into the Munis financial system on July 1st. And I reported to the subcommittee, we've already begun encumbering and expensing that budget so far for the month of July. And believe it or not, the 23-24 budget timeline will be going out to department heads at the end of this month, and we'll begin that process beginning of September, starting to frame the budget for the 23-24 school year. The dates kind of meld together.
Everyone's just staring at them.
Food services, as Dr. Scarpetti stated, the Connecticut General Assembly has allocated $30 million for the Connecticut State Department of Education for free school meals for children under a program called School Meals Assistance Revenue for Transition, SMART. These funds will allow school food authorities, or SFAs, to continue to provide meals at no cost to all students for a longer duration of time while allowing for a smoother transition for households to submit free and reduced price meal applications for school year 22-23. SMART funds will reimburse school food authorities for the difference between the federal reimbursement rate for free meals and the reduced or paid meal prices. SFAs will be required to opt in or out of the program. We opted in. The state has allocated SMART funds based on statistics from the last normal year before COVID, so that was 2018-19. The CSDE has acknowledged that SMART funds will only meet about 50% of the needs for the 22-23 school year, as Dr. Scarpetti mentioned. So that gets us to probably end of December, early January. We were allocated $194,557 as a district. So we will be communicating with parents. The CSDE is looking for other avenues of funding to hopefully prolong this until the end of the year and provide school lunches at no cost to families. But right now, it's looking like we at least have half the year covered. Hopefully, they will be able to cover the rest of the year. If that is not the case, pricing would go back to what it was pre-pandemic, which was $3.05. We have been given a waiver to not have to increase our price this year. Usually, we have to increase each year. This year, we won't have to if we do go back to charging families for those full-price lunches. And we would give families quite a bit of advance notice when we know we're going to have to transition into the full-price meals again. So continued information on that moving forward. And finally, under finance, the audit. The auditors actually visited central office mid-July, and they started their field work for the 21-22 agreed-upon procedures audit, as well as the general audit of financial procedures. So hoping to get that done well in advance of December 31st. And that concludes the finance update.
Any questions for Mr. Gray? Susan?
Mr. Gray, I just want to remind parents that if we have to ultimately pay, they should try to make sure, if they need to get their free and reduced lunch applications, and you'll be sending those out.
Absolutely. Those will be going out at the beginning of school year. Any family that feels they qualify for that should get those in as soon as possible, but they do have the fall to get those in.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just want to clarify, so the applications that the families have to submit, is that after January to get the free or reduced, or is that from the get-go?
No, those go out at the beginning of the school year. They'll go out usually the first day of school. They get sent home with quite a few materials that parents have to sign off on. So you can actually turn those in any time of the year because your circumstances may change. But if you feel at the beginning of the school year you qualify or you may qualify, even if you're not sure, fill it out, send it in, and then you'll be informed whether or not you qualify.
So unlike the previous program, you have to qualify to receive
Right.
the reduced or free lunches?
Right.
Gotcha, thank you.
But to be clear, the free lunches are for all students for up to the amount of money
Right.
that we have, so it'll be about a half a year.
So the
point-
SMART program is for all students.
Thank you.
So all students will receive free lunch until that $194,500 is expended.
Okay,
Once that's expended, then any families that do qualify, as long as they've gotten their paperwork in, will receive free or reduced lunch.
I understand.
If they
So
qualify.
it would start after that money is already?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Right, so
Thank
from
you.
the beginning of the year until a certain point, we will have free
Free lunch
lunch
for everyone.
for all students.
Right.
If they want them. And my point was to bring up the fact that when we get to that point, you can still fill out a form. They can do it in the beginning, they can do it at any point. And it's completely confidential. Only one person actually sees that application, and that person doesn't know anybody in the schools anyway.
And that's the purpose of this SMART, the last word being transition, is to transition from the free lunches we've been giving to transition into, okay, we may have more families that now qualify
Right.
since the pandemic to be able to get that paperwork in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a quick question on my part. During the course of the following months, September, October, November, December, do we periodically send a reminder to parents that the application is available and
We
is it
will
on our
absolutely be
website?
doing that,
We do.
yes,
Okay,
via the principal's newsletters.
okay, very good. All right, and they're available
And,
at the, where? The offices, online, where are they?
They're,
available?
they're online. The offices send them out, the school offices send them out the first day of school.
Yep.
But there's also a place online where you can get that application as well.
Very well.
And we'll
on our
be
website.
sharing this information with our parents end of this week with regards to this, what we're sharing with the entire board, clarifying that it's till the funds run out, but it's projected to be December or January, and then that they have that enough time for that transition to occur. And again, hopefully, as Mr. Gray reported, hopefully the state could find funds to continue for the rest of the year, so.
Yeah, my
Fingers
only
crossed.
concern is, people get a little complacent and they forget.
They
you
do.
know, and free lunch is September, October, and then all of a sudden January's here. and
Right.
So I just want to make sure that the people are reminded.
Yep.
All right, very well.
will
Any
be.
more questions for Mr. Gray? All right, Mr. Gray, I believe you have another report for us?
Sure. I have the facilities update. I'd like to begin with building preparation. Dr. Scarpetti already mentioned Joe Mateus, our director of, our supervisor of maintenance and custodians, and all of our custodians have been working really hard to get our buildings in tip-top shape. By the end of this week, all the buildings will be completed, and they'll just be doing some odds and ends to get ready for the start of the school year, to welcome back staff and students. I want to thank all the custodial staff for their hard work and effort in getting our buildings cleaned and ready. They've done a really great job. It's no easy task when 2 of the buildings are being used for most of the summer, but as Dr. Scarpetti said, by combining forces and having them cleaning in the same building, it provides consistency of the cleaning, it provides the same expectations for cleaning, but it's also a lot more efficient when we do get to the 2 buildings that were being used. Many hands make light work, so it's been going really well. So kudos to all of those staff members. Building maintenance, our annual kitchen maintenance has been completed. Contractors were on site, they power wash and clean the hoods inside of our kitchens, so they do that every year. Then we have another component of our annual kitchen maintenance. They come in and they look at all of our kitchen equipment, the refrigeration equipment, the cooking equipment, and the cleaning and descaling of steamers in our kitchens. So they just finished that today in Turkey Hill School. Tomorrow they will be at Peck Place and they will be done with our district, so our kitchens will be all up to date. We also have Fire Safety Company, which comes in biannually. They come in, they inspect all of our emergency lights and all of our fire extinguishers, so they've already come in. Then we have Johnson Controls. They have been on site for the last 4 days, going over all of our fire panels in our buildings and our fire alarm systems, and that all is working well. And then we're in the process of changing all of the filters in our buildings, which we've been doing every 4 months. So we like to do that right before the school year starts. And again, I'll get into a little more detail when I give my annual report next month. But we go into the classrooms, we change the filters in all the Univent components in the classrooms. We do that for all of our air handlers and closets like the one we have over here, and then we do it for all of our rooftop units as well. So all of those filters get changed.
And if I may, this just reiterates about what I just shared with the board a moment ago about that overall safety and those 2 streets that we're headed down. And one is about the ventilation, cleanliness of the school. So I asked Mr. Gray I know you've heard about it before, but anyone watching, that process is still continuing to keep our schools safe and clean with regards to germs.
And again, tied to what Dr. Scarpetti said, in next month's report, when I give that, I'll also go a little bit deeper into the HVAC system and how we're running that. It's going to be in the same COVID protocol we've been in, and I'll explain that a little further. Some of our summer projects, we have painting. Each year at the end of the school year, I ask the principals to write a list for me of areas around the buildings that need to be painted. So usually we pretty much get everything done. There were a couple of small projects we weren't able to get to this year because some of the projects we did were a little bit larger. But there are projects such as painting classrooms, touching up classrooms, walls inside the building, exterior doors of the building, garage doors in a couple of the buildings, so and railings on stairs. So we were able to accomplish quite a bit of that. Power washing, we power washed a lot of the equipment at the outsides of the buildings. So we have picnic tables at some of the buildings, and they collect some mildew, so we power washed all the picnic tables outside of the buildings, so they look much nicer. There's a canopy at Racebrook School in the library courtyard area, and there was a lot of lichen growing on that. We took that down, completely washed it. It looks like it's brand new. And then there was some chalk and some writing on a couple of walls of a few of the buildings, so we power washed some of that to make the buildings look nice. At Peck Place School specifically, a new access gate was added to the fence line at Peck Place School to allow for a more efficient traffic flow pattern. That helped out greatly during the summer school program, the summer camp program. But again, going along with what Dr. Scarpetti said, that theme of security, it also helps if we have larger events there and we need parking in the back. Now there are 2 ways to get out. So there's, instead of just one exit. So it makes that traffic flow even better. Racebrook School had some wind damage siding on the rooftop outside the gymnasium. That was all replaced. You may have pulled up to Racebrook and seen it, and you could see all the siding was missing on a certain part of the building. It's all been replaced now. The flooring contractor was on site. If you remember last year, we had toured Racebrook School, Buildings and Grounds did, and the tiles in the 6th grade wing, excuse me, were all warping. They were peeling up from the floor. Some were missing. Many had been replaced over the last couple of years. The town, through their generosity, is funding that. That has been completed. Again, next month I'll go into that with some pictures for you to see how it came out. And finally, Turkey Hill School, the walking track at the rear of the school was paved this summer through a gift from their PTO. So thank you very much to their PTO. Came out really nice. It's a great walking track. Literally 2 hours after it was done, there were already people out walking on it. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't want any footsteps, because it was really hot too, but they were good. It went well. And then finally, the ceiling tiles in 11 of the classrooms at Turkey Hill School. Again, this is a continuation of a project that had been done several years ago, where the ceiling tiles were really bowing and drooping and almost looking like they were falling out of the ceiling grid. Those were removed and replaced, and again, that is being funded through the town. So again, thanking the town for all of their help in making sure our buildings are safe and clean for our students and staff. And again, that concludes my report, but I'll have more at next month's presentation.
Mike, before Mr. Crowd asks if there's any questions, you mind mentioning about Turkey Hill School, what we're trying to replicate, what occurred with Peck, what you said about that,
Sure.
that gate?
So again, going along with the security and the safety, Dr. Scarpetti mentioned we're doing Pick My Kid. To make that a little easier at Turkey Hill School, Dr. Arterberry will be sending out to families how that process is going to work, but to make it even more seamless, we're going to take a portion of the fence in the back part of Turkey Hill School where they were picking up this year. We're going to take a section out of that fence as well and put a gate in. That way families will be able to pull in one way, pick up their child, circle around, and come right back out. It'll help greatly with the flow of traffic, and it won't create any traffic jams during the pickup time in the afternoons. So we'll be doing that, and that should be done by the end of this week, early next week.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Gray? Susan?
I'm the problem child. Mr. Gray, is there any thing regarding COVID that we need to be aware of? I know, my understanding is there's no mask required or quarantining or anything like that.
So we're continuing, as far as keeping the buildings clean, we're continuing with the same procedures we've had in the past. We're sanitizing bathrooms. We're going to be cleaning those high-touch areas, the office countertops, shared computers, doorknobs, everything we've been doing in the past, we're going to continue doing, just because it's good practice. It's good hygienic practice. So we will be continuing with that. And again, I'll get into a little more with the HVAC, what we're doing there, as far as the COVID protocol is what they were calling it in the Adapt, Advance, Achieve document that came out at the beginning of COVID when we were coming back to school. So I'll share more of that next month as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Mr. Gray? I just want to take a moment to thank Mr. Houlihan and the Board of Finance and Mr. Zioli and the Board of Selectmen for their support. They've given us some additional funds to keep the school safe, and we do greatly appreciate it, and we enjoy our relationship with both boards. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Dr. Russo.
Good evening. I'll start my report with an update on summer learning, or actually a summary. We had over 300 students attend summer learning for a minimum of 828 sessions and up to 1,251 sessions. We had 60 staff members, and we got a lot of great feedback. The kids really enjoyed it. It was just a great experience. So we were happy to provide that to our students and so grateful to the staff who helped. Now, we do have our 22-23 professional learning and planning calendar all set to share with our staff. We didn't want to send it out too early, didn't want to send it out too late, so we thought that tomorrow morning at 9:30 would be the perfect time. We will, tonight, just share a little bit about what we have planned for August, and then at the curriculum subcommittee, we'll go through all the months of the year. We started, as Mr. Gray shared, the restorative practice training today. We have the second day of the first session tomorrow, and then we have a repeat of that Wednesday and Thursday. And for those of you who are wondering what the restorative practice training is about, we've done a lot of work with social emotional learning and building healthy school climates. And as we have shared in the past, 80% of a healthy climate has to do with developing relationships. And so we all know that sometimes relationships can go awry. And so we want to be prepared for that and build up our skills with restoring those relationships. And that's where the name Restorative Practices comes from. So if you have strong foundations and strong relations, about 50% should be okay, but 30% may need these restorative practices. So that's what our staff is working on, and it is optional. The people who do attend will then help us train the faculty members that didn't attend the training. Our new teacher orientation is scheduled for August 29th, and then Welcome Back is August 24th. And on the agenda for Welcome Back, teachers will start at their home schools for faculty meetings that review beginning of year assessments, teacher evaluation, the modified flexibility, when to begin the English language arts curriculum, the math curriculum, the first 20 days for math, and then really setting the stage for developing structures and establishing routines in the classroom and really getting to know the students in the beginning of the year. In the afternoon, we will have a session for the preschool to grade 3 teachers on our updated integrated foundational skills revised scope and sequence. Over the summer, we really took a look at it. We identified redundancy. We've made a lot of great changes, and we're excited to share that with the teachers. And we have sessions for all of our staff, for the music teachers, the art teachers, the school psychologists, the special education teachers, for all staff. So we'll share that all with them tomorrow. They'll have an opportunity to also engage in the tutorials, for example, on the Connecticut mandated reporter training. We do several sessions like the anti-bullying, the state mandated session, bloodborne pathogens, just to name a few. Then on Thursday, we will continue with homeschool sessions. There will be a safety session where Dr. Scarpetti and Kelly Martino will begin with opening remarks, and then Detectives Bailey and Nepper will share their safety presentation. There will be a session on the Promethean boards, because we have a lot of new boards. We'll have an advanced session and a beginner session. We will have Pick My Kid training for the teachers, because our resident experts learned a lot. They're going to facilitate those sessions. They really know what they're talking about, and they'll be able to share it with our staff in a relevant way. And then we will have professional planning sessions for grade level teams to meet. We'll have our transition meetings, and we just have schedules of when and where all those activities will occur. And then August 26th is a classroom setup day for teachers. And as I said earlier, we'll share the specifics of the professional learning for the rest of the year with the curriculum subcommittee. But teachers will have an opportunity to know what is planned for the entire year. And they have the choice to either, because it can get overwhelming to process because there's a lot. So they have the choice of either processing month by month, or for those people who want to know what's happening the entire year, they have all that information. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Dr. Russo? Mr. Ziman?
It's not a question. I was speaking with Dr. Russo before, and it's a small detail, but I'm just so impressed with the detail and specificity the administration goes to prepare all aspects of the educational process. That idea that we're going to send the letter out to the teachers at 9:30. It's not going to be this day. It's not going to be that day. It's not going to be first thing in the morning, and that's just the way that this team works.
Never on a Monday, right? Monday morning.
Any other questions for Dr. Russo? Tatiana?
Dr. Russo, I do have a question again about the Pick My Kid app. Was it ever contemplated regarding parents that have children with kids that still use car seats or booster seats, I guess more so booster seats at that age, after the kids go through the line, would the teachers be putting the kids into the booster seats if the child can't, or would the parent have to pull over into a parking lot? Just in going to the summer program, I did see a number of parents having to pull over to get out of the car to put their kids into the booster seat. I don't know if that's something that would be in the training or that's been contemplated. It's just something that I saw when I was utilizing the app.
Thank you for bringing that up. I will bring that to the attention of the Pick My Kid team, and we can certainly have the discussion about that, but I don't see why we wouldn't be able to just.
Well, I think and again, that is a great question. And one of the things that we've talked about is the technical piece and where people are pulling up. And so some of the things that we learned is where the side of the car, where those seats
Right.
are.
Right.
Again, we don't want to inconvenience parents, but information will be going out and making recommendations, having your car ready. But also the space, so just talking about PEC specifically, we wanted a wide enough turn, so if
Yes.
parents need to do that, they're not holding up a line so they could pull over and do that.
Right.
And again, it's going to be age-specific because some kids can buckle themselves up,
Yes.
while other students cannot in the
Right.
booster seat.
And it would also, I guess, at each school, depend on, in maneuvering certain things, where there would be space for parents to pull over.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, thank you, I
Exactly.
appreciate it.
Anyone else? Mr. Vitale?
Hi, Dr. Russo. The restorative practices training, the initial training, are we doing that internally, or are we bringing someone in for the initial training that the teachers can opt in or opt out of?
So we're bringing two presenters in, and they are the same presenters who came for the March professional learning for the school climate.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, and Mary? Go ahead. Oh, yes, and the ACEs training. Yeah, they've been with the Adverse Childhood Experience training. So they are the same presenters so that it's consistent.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But also, springboarding Mr. Vitale about 80, did you say 80% about building relationships in order to impact a positive relationship or restoring that? The consistency that I found with having these outside facilities come in is actually building those relationships and unfolding things. So they've been an extreme help to us, too.
Anyone else? Very well, thank you, Dr. Rousseau. Mrs. Ito?
Good evening. The Extended School Year, or ESY program, went off without a hitch for all students who attended. Our students who required special education services that was determined by their planning and placement team attended based on what their IEP said, but also had the opportunity, as they should, to engage in the summer learning activity. So we worked really hand in hand to schedule the best we could to make that happen for the children. So it was a great team effort. We have successfully completed at least one IEP in the new CT SED system. That's the Connecticut Special Education Data System that went into effect July 1st. As a reminder, CT SEDS is an adaptive electronic individual education document that is designed to improve the format and flow of information with intuitive, easy-to-use displays. The new system will include a parent portal for families to access their child's IEP and other important information, and a language translation feature to ensure that parents receive information in their native language. The new and improved document will also assist planning and placement teams in navigating the special education process and supporting our work and continuing to develop high-quality IEPs for Connecticut students. The parent portal will be available to families once the student has had a meeting triggering the new document. So right now, there are no IEPs in CT SEDS developed through that system. So once we have either an annual review or a review revised meeting, then the parent would have a need to get into CT SEDS. So we'll transition parents into that as those meetings occur. It may be helpful to be aware that there is information on the Orange and the State Department of Education website for those who are interested to know more about the CT SED system. And as a reminder, there are no changes to the laws governing special education or 504 at this time. We encourage families to reach out to the school-based team or to me if you have any questions or concerns regarding this new document. I hope it's fair to say that we're all excited for the start of the new school year. Marielle Tracy has the unique opportunity to be our children's first school experience. To assist with this new adventure, our preschool orientation will be held August 29th during the morning hours. Families will receive specific information shortly from the Special Services Department. Preschool children eligible to attend our program will begin August 30th. Although the general school day is a minimum day on that day, preschool will be a full day, allowing all preschoolers to experience the first day on the same day. And as a friendly reminder to the community, Peace at Home Parenting Solution is a town-wide subscription that we continue to subscribe to through a grant. This subscription provides sessions that are live and interactive online classes and on-demand recorded online classes. Families continue to receive information through their individual school newsletters as to what those up-and-coming classes are or sessions. Any specific questions or interests can be directed to the school psychologist or our social worker. I'm looking forward to a productive and collaborative school year, and I encourage families to let us know if they have any questions or concerns regarding their child's education. Thank you.
Any questions for Mrs. Zito? None? Thank you, Mrs. Zito. Very well. We will move on to board business. We have 5 second reads to get through here. So we'll start with number 1. I'll see second read 4118.21 /4118.5 academic freedom. Do I have a motion to accept policy 4118.21 /4118.5 as presented? Susan, a second. Mr. Ziman, any discussion on this policy? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well. Second policy, 6141.312, migrant students. Do I have a motion to accept policy 6141.312 as presented? Mr. Vitale, second. Tatiana, any discussion? Go ahead. Put your mic on there, please.
I'm just curious to know, is there like a follow-up program, or, because the issue of migrant students, that has been something that we haven't had a discussion on in over maybe 10 or 15 years. So I was just curious to know if Orange, is this something that's mandated? I mean, is this something that, is there a purpose for us to even have a discussion on this policy?
So this policy has always been in existence. The only reason why we're bringing it up in front of the board is because it didn't have an adoptive date. So specifically, it didn't have to do anything necessarily of the contents of the policy. It really had to do with the adoption date of the board. And as Mrs. Hallock shared, for whatever reason, back in 2002, many of our policies just said 2002 or the month in 2002, not the month and the date. But if there's any specific questions that you may have with this, please contact Mrs. Hallock or ourselves. We could always bring it up. But the intent was really just because we have CABE, the Connecticut Association Board of Education. They do an audit on our policies. And they said, you know what, in order to be precise, you really should have the adoption dates. And many of our policies, including this migratory, do not have a specific policy adoptive date.
Okay, so the purpose is just to adopt it and to give it a date?
That was the intent. There was no issues with this policy the way it was written. I believe there's I don't know if you have that printed out, but it's, the legal reference was updated about No Child Left Behind. And so that's something we updated, but the language seems to be consistent. And also with, and again, we could bring this up at policy, but any migratory students, we do have to allow into our district. Again, I know there's been situations that other districts have had more migratory students because of certain issues, that people have fled another country or such. We haven't had to have that, but I think there was one time we had one issue. But if there's any specific questions, don't hesitate to reach Mrs. Hallock or myself, and we could actually bring this up again and talk. But it was really just the adoption date that why this came up from CABE.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Turn your mic off. Any other questions on or any other discussion, I'm sorry, on this? Okay, I have a motion, correct? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very good. Second read, 4131.5, continuing education units. Dr. Scarpetti, do you want to update the board on this policy, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Kraus. So continuing education units, there's a time in the past, and then we have current educators sitting on the board and retired educators. But CEUs were actually required for a district to provide to a teacher. So again, learning for a teacher should never end. The state wanted to make sure that districts were following that, and CEUs were to be awarded. So for example, we had professional learning today. In the past, when it was required, they would receive CEU credits for their continuing education that should continue until their entire career. The state has done away with this, so therefore we don't need it. It's not required any longer.
Any questions on that? So the motion will be to rescind this policy, okay? 4131 point continuing education units, do I have a motion to rescind policy 4131.5? Susan? Second, Liz. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Number 4, 6162.31, test exclusions. Do I have a motion to accept policy 6162.31 as presented? Susan, second. Mr. Ziman, any discussion on this policy? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Number 5, 6144.1, exemption from instruction. Do I have a motion to accept policy 6144.1 as presented? Mr. Vitale, second. Mr. Ziman, any discussion on this policy? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well, thank you. For the
Mr.
second
Kraft,
reads, yes,
I
go.
would like to point out that every time you want a motion, you go to your left. Just,
Thank you for that valuable observation, Mr. Ziman.
Now he's gonna ignore me.
That's probably because I bat left-handed, and,
direction-wise, I always turn
yeah,
right.
well, it's certainly not to look at you.
Okay, that's so well.
You know, I'm going to go to my right from now on,
Thank you
Mr. Ziman. Thank you. Sorry, we have a, you know, he always does this to me. He gets me- yeah, all of a sudden, I'm off track. I don't know where I am. We have a first read, 514.2, school security officers. That will be presented as a second read in September. I can't believe I'm saying September. If you have any questions on this policy, please contact myself, Dr. Scarpetti, or Betty Hadlock. All right? 7, Dr. Scarpetti, discussion on possible action on a calendar update.
Thank you, Mr. Kraut. To take a step back with regarding the school calendar, we have a process that we follow. We share it with the board, but we also I reach out to OTL and have a conversation. And we have a conversation with the BOA superintendents, especially with the Amity, due to many reasons. You know, typically we have students that are attending Amity and Orange. We want to see how that impacts. So specifically during the winter break, so again, that would be December 26th through the 30th, the new year falls on a Sunday. And so when this conversation came up with the BOA superintendents, it was shared and investigated that we don't have to require a child to have the day off. Later on, we actually found out that, in fact, we do have to honor the holiday. So again, the New Year's Day falls on January 1st, which is a Sunday, and since it falls on a Sunday, we have to acknowledge that holiday the following day, which is on a Monday. So what I presented initially was that students would be returning the 2nd. I received information, even though we looked at it at first, we were told that it was okay for them to return. Now we received information that it's required that we have to give the day off. And so I'm going to the board because it's your authority. I can't change this. It's board's authority to change this. So I'm asking the board to change the calendar, giving January 2nd a day off, having students return Tuesday, January 3rd. And this would, of course, impact the last day of school. Originally, it was June 8th, Thursday. Now it will be June 9th.
Any thoughts on what Dr. Scarpetti just explained to us? Go ahead, Sue.
I just don't think we have any choice in the matter. They have to have the day off. There's not much we can do. It's really not a discussion.
Would
I
that
just
be-
want to add that I think that the families and the students would love the day after Easter or the day after Super Bowl Sunday, and maybe move a PD day over there if we have an option. I think those are big days for families. I know those kids have a hard time waking up in the morning.
So
Go ahead, Tatiana.
to piggyback off of that, my question was, would that mean, like, so for instance, Easter falls on a Sunday, so why wouldn't that Monday be off? Or would it be other holidays that would be recognized where the day falls on? Is it because it varies as far as?
It's because it varies, and I think, again, certain holidays we don't have to honor, but apparently it's required by the state that we have to honor New Year's Day. So just like there's some holidays which may be coming up to future discussion, some religious holidays we honor, some we don't. And that's the prerogative of the board. Here, as Ms. Riccio just said, we really don't have any choice in the matter, but
Yeah.
procedural-wise, the authority is you, the board, the entire board has the authority to change the calendar. I couldn't have sent an email and say, hey, listen, we're supposed to come back, I'm going to change it, I can't do that without your permission as an entire board.
Okay, so I think a discussion should be had. We're going to be setting the calendar for the following year soon enough. If there's days that the board would like to see off or not off, that would be the time to make those changes for 2023, right? So, Dr. Scarpetti, you're looking for a motion to, for the board to approve January 2nd as an off day at 2023 and extend the school year by one day to June 9th.
Yes, sir.
Did you get that? Because I don't think I could say that again properly. Did everyone understand what I just said? Do I have a motion to accept my motion? Oh, jeez. This is going to drive me nuts now. You realize that.
I'll make the motion.
But you're to my left, Susan. I'm not so sure I can do that. Susan made the motion. Ronette, second. Any further discussion on this? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well. Thank you, Dr. Scarpetti. Superintendent's recommendation for the Mary L. Tracy School Principal. We will go into executive session for that a little later. So we'll move on to standing committees. First up, Ms. Riccio.
So the Finance Subcommittee met prior to this meeting. They're in the process of closing out 21-22 school year. Still some items to clean up. That'll be finished shortly. And then the auditors will take a look at our year, which I would expect to be correct. We are finishing the year within budget, which is great. Both June and July financials were reviewed, the cafeteria update, including a discussion about the free lunches that will begin this year again. And 21st Century is still available if people need help with after school. The earlier you get in, it's easier for us to plan for supervising people. So everything went well.
Any questions for Ms. Riccio? Very well. Thank you, Ms. Riccio. Personnel, Transportation, Mrs. Hadlock is not here. Buildings and Grounds and Safety, Mr. Kapp is not here. Curriculum, I'm looking to my right. That would be Mr. Simon.
We thought it was more important to work on the curriculum than talk about it, so we did not have a meeting, but we will be having one this month.
Okay, I think the 20, would that normally be on the 29th? The 29th?
Yeah, 15th.
Oh, okay, okay,
Monday.
very good, thanks.
First day of school. That's the first day of school.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll have it on the 29th, though. And
Okay.
I don't, Betty's not here, so I don't know when she.
All right, well, the chairs will work that out.
Yeah, we'll work that out.
Okay. ACES, Ms. Riccio?
So ACES does not meet during July and August, but I, as the chair, still meet with the director. And so they're getting ready, just like all of the other school districts are, with cleaning top to bottom. They are in the process of getting approval for ACES at Chase to be able to start increasing the number of grades that are there. It's currently 6, 7, 8. We're hoping for a final approval on grade 9 next year, 10 the follow, 11, so we can ultimately get a full high school. We have a lot of construction going on at ACES at Chase, as well as at Wintergreen Magnet School. And we're kicking off convocation at individual sites for all services and schools. And they videotaped me, which I wasn't too choked up about, but they told me it went great. I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Any questions for Ms. Riccio? Very well, thank you. So I will be looking for a motion to enter to an executive session inviting Dr. Scarpetti and Dr. Russo, correct? Do I have a motion? Mr. Simon, second. Susan? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well, we are in executive session. Mic's on. Thank you. All right, we are out of executive session. I am looking for a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for principal of Mary L. Tracy School. Do I have a motion? Carmen? Went to the right. Susan? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? We're good, Cheryl? Very good. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Susan? Mr. Ziman? Any discussion on adjourning? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We are adjourned at 8:38. Thank you all.